I want to emphasize again, this is a teeny tiny bit of the article. If you want the rest of it, you by all means click on, I put the link in the schedule page for last class, just click on that, open it up, click on the links directly. You can get the full report of the study if you want to see it. What I've tried to do is just extract the stuff that's pertinent to 244, which is the results, essentially, the results. We're going to start getting our own results starting on Thursday. Okay. So, extra credit, where was the study done? Most likely?
Looks like Greece.
Greece! Look at those last names! You ever seen so many consonants? And crazy vowel combinations, definitely. I think it was a Greek study, definitely. Bueno, very nice, very nice. I can't speak Latin, so bueno. Sigma, mu. So, what are we checking here? What are we trying to see? And this was, again, I mentioned my dad in the cold and the windows rolled up. I also should mention the 4 years I played punk rock from 2006 to 2010, the first 2 years of which in Oregon you were still allowed to smoke in bars. Still. So I'm sitting there playing 212 BPM punk rock music for an hour and a half, sucking in. It took 3 days to flush that smoke out of my lungs. So I started thinking to myself, I wonder if this is bad for me. Now I'm not actually sucking the smoke in myself, but I feel like I am, just from the amount of respiration I'm doing with the smoke in the air. So secondhand smoke, we've heard that in the news, yes? Secondhand smoke, yes. We've heard it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Some of the studies that have come out since this one, which I don't know if replicated or not, to answer your question before you ask it, which is a great question, is that secondhand smoke can even be so damaging that it resides on clothing. And when you pick up an infant and the clothing has secondhand smoke on it, the infant can actually have lung impact or impairment from that. I haven't checked that one out myself. I haven't looked into that study. That might be one of the ones for your guys' exam. One of the ones for the exam that either does or doesn't show a margin of error, perhaps. One of those questions on the exam says, go find studies that do or don't have margins. That might be one for you. Check secondhand smoke on clothing with infants. Hey, throw it out there in case you don't have one already. That might be worth looking into. Yeah? Okay. Anyway, and we're checking secondhand smoke on lung function. In case you're interested on the lung functions that they were measuring, because it is all about the measurement, yes? The cytokine production, apparently, and I know nothing about this biologically, apparently that is a good marker for lung efficiency. It's some kind of measure of oxygen transfer across the alveoli or something. I'm speaking terms I don't really understand here. But if you want the full text of the article, it'll go into the biology of what's going on in the lung. Okay, but apparently, as cytokine production goes down, so does lung function. As it goes back up, so does lung function. So that's the kind of the association. All right, we did a single-blind crossover experiment. We got 8 women, 8 men, very small, that happens sometimes. And we put them at a bar, restaurant, secondhand smoke level. So apparently when this study was done, and I forget the year on this one, I don't think it's marked in here. Bar and restaurant levels in Greece, they were set. If they were like players in circa 2007, God have mercy on your soul. There's a lot of smoke in that bar in 2007. All right? So they call it a baseline 0, and then 0, 1, and 3 hours after a 1 hour secondhand smoke exposure. So in other words, they measure those levels. Just the methods right here. 16, parentheses, 8 women. I'm assuming the other 8 are men.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming. So we stick them in a bar for an hour. We know what they're... Who used the word baseline last time? I love that phrase. Thank you, Cassidy. Baseline last time. We measure their baseline lung function, then stick them in a smoky room for an hour. Pull them out, measure them right then again. Wait an hour, measure them again. Then wait 3 hours, or I guess 2 hours past the 1, and measure them again. So now you have 3 markers. And we want to see these lung functions at those marker times compared to baseline. Fair enough? Okay, good. That's what we're looking at. So what I want to do first is, I want to make sure we understand, and I'm going to pull this up so people have. I want to know in this particular study what the hypotheses are. And there really are, there's going to be 3 sets of hypotheses. There really are going to be 3 sets of hypotheses. Because you have 3 different markers you're testing. You're testing at 0 hours, which essentially means after 1 hour of exposure. That's 0 hours. Because as soon as they pull it out of the room, they measure it right then. That's 1 hour later, so 0 hours after exposure. That's your first set of hypotheses. Your second set of hypotheses is 1 hour past that. And your third set of hypotheses is 2 hours past that, or 3 hours after exposure.
They don't check them before, they even know.
Yes, that's the baseline. That's baseline. I don't know if it's mentioned there. Yeah, baseline levels. You have to measure them before they go in, otherwise you have no idea if it changed. Yeah, that's a very good question. So when you see the word baseline, so check this out. At 0 to 1 hour, most lung function parameters were significantly reduced. So I got two hypotheses, H0, H1. What are they going to be? What are they going to be? What is the hypothesis? What are we trying to see is going on? Veronica, go ahead, be brave.
Smoke affects lung function.
Good. Smoke is going to negatively have a negative effect on lung function. Would that be him or her?
H1.
Definitely her, definitely H1. What you're testing is always your null hypothesis, or your research hypothesis. We'll come back to why momentarily. It seems logical to put it in the first one. We'll come back to why it's H1 or HA. So H1, yes, let's put that here. H1 is that second-hand smoke lowers lung function. Yes. Now, I'm being very general with how I'm saying that lowers lung function. I haven't told you how it lowers lung function. I haven't even discussed how it lowers lung function.